A strange signal. The night sky above Earth was clear, with stars twinkling like tiny diamonds. At the International Space Station, a small group of scientists was busy monitoring the endless expanse of space. Among them was Dr. Emily Carter, a brilliant astrophysicist with a keen sense of curiosity. She had spent years studying the universe, always hoping to find something new, something extraordinary. Tonight seemed like any other night until suddenly her computer screen started flashing. It was a signal, but not like anything she had seen before. The signal was strong, yet strange, and it was coming from deep within space, far beyond where humans had ever traveled. Dr. Carter's heart raced. She quickly ran the signal through the station's decoders, trying to make sense of it. The signal repeated itself over and over, almost like it was trying to say something. As the decoding process continued, she realized that this wasn't just random noise. This was a message. She called over her colleague, Dr. Mark Evans, a communications specialist. "Mark, you need to see this," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Mark looked at the screen and frowned. "What is it, Emily?" "It's a distress call," she replied, her eyes wide with shock. "But it's not from Earth. It's from somewhere far, far away." Mark leaned in closer, studying the patterns on the screen. The signal was complex, but it was definitely a call for help. "Who could be sending this?" he asked, trying to understand the gravity of the situation. "I don't know," Emily admitted. "But we need to figure it out fast." They worked together, decoding the message line by line. As they did, it became clear that the signal was from an alien fleet. The fleet was stranded in a dangerous part of space, and they were in serious trouble. Their technology had failed, and they were completely helpless. The message was a plea for assistance, and the closest civilization capable of helping was Earth. Emily and Mark exchanged worried glances. This was a historic moment, contact with an alien species, but under dire circumstances. They knew they had to inform their superiors immediately. Within minutes, the space station was buzzing with activity. The station's director, Colonel James Parker, was quickly briefed on the situation. A stern man with years of military experience, Parker was not easily shaken, but even he could not hide his concern. "This is bigger than anything we've ever faced," Parker said, his voice steady but serious. "We're talking about an alien fleet in distress, and they're asking for our help. We can't ignore this." The message was sent to Earth's government leaders, who convened an emergency meeting. The situation was unprecedented, and the decision they had to make was not easy. Should they send a team to help these aliens? What if it was a trap? But then again, what if it wasn't? What if these beings really needed their help? After hours of intense discussion, the decision was made. Humanity would respond. A rescue mission would be launched, and they would send their best people to answer the call. Back at the space station, Emily and Mark were chosen to be part of the team. Along with a group of top engineers, scientists, and military personnel, they would embark on a mission like no other. Captain Sarah Blake, a seasoned astronaut with a reputation for staying calm under pressure, was selected to lead the team. As they prepared for the mission, the reality of what they were about to do started to sink in. They were heading into the unknown, responding to a call from an alien civilization. It was both thrilling and terrifying. The spacecraft was loaded with everything they might need: tools, supplies, and advanced technology. The engineers double-checked every system, making sure the ship was ready for the long journey ahead. The scientists prepared their equipment, knowing they might encounter things they had never seen before. Captain Blake gathered her team for a final briefing. "We don't know what we'll find out there," she began, her voice calm and reassuring. "But we do know that we are the only ones who can help. The fate of this alien fleet rests in our hands. Let's do what we do best. Use our knowledge, our skills, and our humanity to make a difference." The team nodded in agreement, their determination clear. They knew the risks, but they also knew the importance of their mission. This was a chance to prove that humans were not just capable of surviving in the vastness of space, but also of offering help to others in need, no matter how different or distant they might be. As the spacecraft prepared for launch, the team members took their positions. The engines roared to life, and within moments, they were off, leaving Earth behind and heading toward the unknown. The journey would be long and filled with challenges, but as they looked out at the stars, each member of the team felt a sense of purpose. They were on a mission to save not just one ship, but an entire fleet. And in doing so, they would show the universe what humanity was truly capable of. As the spacecraft soared through the darkness of space, the strange signal from the alien fleet continued to pulse, a beacon of hope waiting for the humans to arrive. Journey into the unknown. The spacecraft hummed softly as it traveled through the vast emptiness of space. Captain Sarah Blake sat in the command chair, her eyes focused on the monitors in front of her. The journey had just begun, and already the crew could feel the weight of their mission. They were heading into the unknown, to a part of space no human had ever seen. The crew was a mix of the best Earth had to offer. Dr. Emily Carter, the astrophysicist who first discovered the alien signal, was busy analyzing star maps, trying to make sure they stayed on course. Beside her, Dr. Mark Evans checked the communication systems, making sure they could stay in contact with Earth, even from such a great distance. The spacecraft, named the Explorer, was equipped with the latest technology, but even with all its advancements, the journey was far from easy. The further they traveled from Earth, the more isolated they felt. The stars around them were unfamiliar, and the darkness of space seemed endless. As the days passed, the crew settled into a routine. They worked in shifts, always making sure someone was monitoring the ship's systems. But despite their professionalism, there was an underlying tension that no one could shake. They were going into uncharted territory, responding to a distress call from an alien fleet. The unknown loomed large, and with it, the fear of what they might find. One evening, as the crew gathered in the common area for a meal, Captain Blake decided it was time to address the unspoken worries. "I know this mission is unlike anything we've ever faced," she began, looking around at her team. "But remember why we're here. We're here because someone out there needs our help. We have the skills, the knowledge, and the courage to do what's right. Let's focus on that." Her words had the desired effect. The crew nodded, their resolve strengthening. They had been chosen for this mission because they were the best, and they would prove it. The journey took them through asteroid fields, where Captain Blake's piloting skills were put to the test. With each sharp turn and narrow escape, the crew's respect for their captain grew. She guided the ship with steady hands, never showing fear, even when the situation was dire. But the challenges didn't end with asteroids. The ship's sensors picked up strange energy readings as they traveled deeper into space. Dr. Carter was fascinated by the readings, but they also made her uneasy. "These energy patterns are unlike anything I've seen," she explained to Captain Blake. "We need to be careful. We don't know what's out there." Captain Blake agreed, ordering the crew to be on high alert. They continued their journey, navigating through the strange energy fields with caution. The ship's shields held up, but the crew couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The unknown was closing in on them, and with it, a sense of danger. One night, as the ship drifted through a particularly dense part of space, the lights flickered. The crew immediately jumped into action, checking the systems for any signs of malfunction. "What's happening?" Captain Blake asked, her voice calm but firm. Dr. Evans checked his monitors. "It looks like the energy fields are interfering with our systems. We need to reroute power to the shields or we could be in trouble." Captain Blake didn't hesitate. "Do it!" she ordered. The crew worked quickly, rerouting the power and stabilizing the ship. The lights returned to normal, but the tension remained. They were far from Earth, and the safety they had always known was now a distant memory. The unknown was testing them, pushing them to their limits. As they continued their journey, the crew faced more challenges. The ship's navigation system started acting up, making it harder to stay on course. Dr. Carter spent hours recalibrating the systems, her determination never wavering. She knew how important it was to stay on track. The alien fleet was counting on them, and failure was not an option. Despite the difficulties, the crew never lost hope. They knew the risks when they accepted the mission, and they were prepared to face whatever came their way. The unknown was daunting, but it also fueled their curiosity and drive. They wanted to know what was out there, to see what no human had seen before. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the ship's sensors picked up something. It was faint, but it was there, a cluster of large objects in the distance. "We're getting close," Dr. Carter said, her voice filled with both excitement and relief. Captain Blake nodded, her eyes focused on the monitors. "Prepare for approach," she ordered. "We don't know what we'll find, so stay sharp." As the ship moved closer to the objects, the crew could see them more clearly. It was the alien fleet, massive ships floating in space, their once powerful engines now silent. The sight was both awe-inspiring and tragic. These ships were clearly advanced, far beyond anything humans had built, but they were stranded, powerless. Captain Blake took a deep breath. "We found them," she said quietly. "Now let's do what we came here to do." The crew prepared to make contact with the alien fleet, knowing that the real challenge was just beginning. They had journeyed into the unknown, and now they were about to step into the heart of it. First meeting. The alien fleet loomed large in front of the Explorer, their massive ships floating silently in the dark void of space. The human crew was in awe, their eyes fixed on the strange, unfamiliar designs of the alien vessels. Each ship was different, with sleek lines and glowing patterns that pulsed with faint light. But despite their advanced appearance, it was clear that these ships were in trouble. Captain Sarah Blake took a deep breath as she prepared for what came next. "We've made contact with the fleet," she announced to her crew. "Now it's time to make contact with the aliens themselves." Dr. Emily Carter and Dr. Mark Evans, who had been closely monitoring the alien signals, were both nervous and excited. They had been studying the patterns, trying to understand the alien language. It was complex, unlike anything they had encountered before, but there were enough similarities to make some sense of it. Captain Blake's voice was calm as she gave the order. "Open a communication channel. Let's see if they can hear us." Dr. Evans worked quickly, adjusting the communication systems to match the alien frequencies. He sent out a message, a simple greeting in the language they had decoded. "This is the human ship, the Explorer. We are here to help. Can you hear us?" There was a long moment of silence, and the crew held their breath, waiting. The tension in the air was thick. They were reaching out to a completely unknown species, and no one knew what to expect. Finally, the speakers crackled to life. A voice, strange and otherworldly, responded. The words were slow, deliberate, as if the speaker was struggling to find the right sounds. "We hear you. Help us." The crew exchanged relieved glances. It was a start. Dr. Carter took over the communication, her voice steady but gentle. "We understand you are in distress. Can you tell us what happened? How can we assist?" There was another pause, and then the voice responded again, this time with more clarity. "Our ship's damaged. Engines not working. We are stranded. We need energy, power, to repair." Dr. Carter quickly relayed the information to Captain Blake. "They need power to repair their ships. It seems their energy reserves are depleted." Captain Blake nodded. "We can help with that. But first, we need to establish a meeting. We need to understand who we're dealing with." She instructed Dr. Evans to send another message. "We want to meet with you. Can we come aboard one of your ships to discuss how we can help?" There was a longer pause this time, and the crew waited anxiously. They knew this was a critical moment. If the aliens refused, their mission could become much more difficult. Finally, the voice responded, "Yes, you may come. We will guide you." Almost immediately, one of the alien ships sent out a beacon, a soft, glowing light that pulsed rhythmically. It was a signal for them to follow. Captain Blake ordered the Explorer to move closer, carefully navigating the ship toward the alien vessel. As they approached, the crew couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and fear. They were about to meet an alien species face to face, something that had been the stuff of science fiction for centuries. But now it was real, and the unknown was just a few meters away. The docking procedure was tense but smooth. The Explorer attached to the alien ship's airlock, and the crew prepared to step into an entirely new world. Captain Blake selected a small team to accompany her, Dr. Carter, Dr. Evans, and 2 security officers just in case. They suited up and made their way to the airlock. As the door opened, they were greeted by a dimly lit corridor, the walls of the alien ship glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. The air was cool and slightly heavier than what they were used to, but it was breathable. The team moved cautiously through the corridor until they reached a large chamber. Waiting for them were the aliens, 3 tall, slender beings with elongated limbs and shimmering iridescent skin. Their eyes were large and black, reflecting the light in the room, and their movements were graceful, almost fluid. Captain Blake stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We are here to help," she said slowly, trying to ensure the aliens understood. One of the aliens, who seemed to be the leader, tilted its head slightly and spoke in the same slow, deliberate manner as before. Thank you for coming. We are called the Aelori. Our fleet lost power, and we cannot repair." Dr. Carter was fascinated. The Aelori were unlike anything she had imagined, and yet there was something familiar about their desperation. They were vulnerable, just like humans would be in their situation. Captain Blake nodded. "We will do what we can to restore your power, but we need to understand more about your technology. Can you show us what went wrong?" The Aelori leader gestured for them to follow. The humans walked beside the aliens, observing everything around them. The ship was advanced, with technology that was both beautiful and functional, but it was clear that it had suffered extensive damage. They arrived at a control room where the Aelori showed them the damaged systems. Dr. Carter and Dr. Evans examined the technology, trying to figure out how they could help. It was complex, but not impossible to understand. "We can work with this," Dr. Carter said after a moment, "but we'll need to bring over some equipment from our ship." The Aelori leader nodded, showing what seemed to be relief. "Thank you." "Humans, we did not expect help from your kind." Captain Blake smiled softly. "We're all in this universe together. Let's get started." The hum of machinery filled the air as Captain Sarah Blake and her team worked alongside the Aelori to repair the damaged alien ship. The Explorer's crew had set up a temporary workshop in the alien vessel's control room, where Dr. Emily Carter and Dr. Mark Evans were busy analyzing the alien technology. The room was filled with a mix of human and Aelori tools, creating a strange but harmonious blend of science and engineering. The Aelori watched with great interest as the humans worked, their large black eyes reflecting the soft glow of the equipment. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Captain Blake glanced around the room. The Aelori were doing their best to assist, using their own technology to help with the repairs. They moved with grace and efficiency, but there were clear communication gaps. The humans and Aelori had to rely on basic gestures and the few shared words they had learned. Dr. Carter focused on the damaged energy conduits, her brow furrowed in concentration. "These conduits are completely fried. We'll need to replace them with the parts we brought from the Explorer." Dr. Evans was busy connecting the human tools to the alien systems. "It's tricky, but I think we can integrate our equipment with theirs. We just need to be careful not to overload their systems." The Aelori leader, who had introduced itself as Thalor, approached Captain Blake. "How long?" Thalor asked slowly. "When will power be restored?" Captain Blake offered a reassuring smile. "We're making good progress. It might take a few hours, but we'll do everything we can to get your systems back online as quickly as possible." Thalor nodded, the alien's expression showing a mixture of gratitude and anxiety. "We appreciate your help." As the hours passed, the team worked tirelessly. The crew of the Explorer and the Aelori engineers labored side by side, their combined efforts a testament to the strength of their cooperation. The task was challenging, but both sides were learning from each other. The humans were amazed by the sophistication of Aelori technology, and the Aelori were equally impressed by the humans' ingenuity and problem-solving skills. In a quiet moment, Captain Blake took a chance to speak with Thalor. "Tell me more about your people. How did you end up in this situation?" Thalor's eyes seemed to cloud with sadness. "We were exploring new worlds. We found resources, but something went wrong. Our engines failed. We lost power and could not return." Captain Blake listened carefully. "It sounds like you were on an important mission. We'll do our best to help you get back on track." Thalor nodded, seeming to take comfort in Captain Blake's words. Thank you. Your kindness is unexpected. Many in the galaxy do not offer help. Captain Blake frowned slightly. Not everyone is like that. Sometimes reaching out and helping each other is the only way to move forward. Meanwhile, Dr. Carter and Dr. Evans had successfully installed the new energy conduits and were now testing the integrated systems. The Aelori watched intently, their curiosity evident. Dr. Carter carefully monitored the readings on her console. We're ready to test the systems now. Let's see if we can get some power flowing. She pressed a few buttons, and the room was filled with a low hum as the energy systems slowly began to come back online. The Aelori's faces lit up with hope as the lights in the control room flickered and then stabilized. Dr. Evans smiled. Looks like it's working. We should be able to get the engines running soon. Thalor's eyes widened with relief. You have done it. We can repair our ships. Captain Blake nodded. We still need to make sure everything is stable before we finish up. But it looks like you're on your way to recovery. The Aelori quickly moved to their own control panels, starting to address the remaining issues with their systems. The teamwork between the humans and the Aelori was evident. Each side brought its own expertise to the table, and together they were making great strides. As the repairs progressed, Captain Blake took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. The initial meeting with the Aelori had been filled with uncertainty, but now there was a sense of camaraderie and mutual respect. The barriers between the two species were beginning to dissolve. In a brief break, Thalor approached Captain Blake again. We are grateful for your help. How can we repay you? Captain Blake shook her head. There's no need for repayment. We did this because it was the right thing to do. We're all part of the same universe, and sometimes that means helping each other when it's needed. Thalor seemed to consider this for a moment. We will remember your kindness. Perhaps one day we can let that repay you. Captain Blake smiled warmly. I'm sure we'll have more chances to work together in the future. For now, let's focus on getting your fleet back in shape. As the last of the repairs were completed, the Aelori ships began to hum with renewed energy. The massive engines roared back to life, and the fleet slowly started to move, ready to continue their journey. Captain Blake and her crew watched with satisfaction as the Aelori prepared to leave. The mission had been a success, and the bonds formed between the two species were a testament to the power of cooperation and mutual aid. The Aelori leader, Thalor, approached one last time. Thank you. Again, we will remember this. Captain Blake extended her hand in a gesture of friendship. Safe travels, Thalor. We'll be here if you need us. With a final nod, Thalor and the Aelori fleet departed, leaving the Explorer behind. As the ship returned to its course, Captain Blake and her crew felt a sense of accomplishment. They had faced the unknown, worked together with an alien species, and made a difference in the galaxy. A sudden danger. The Explorer floated calmly in space as the Aelori fleet prepared to resume its journey. The repairs were complete, and the atmosphere aboard the Explorer was one of quiet satisfaction. Captain Sarah Blake and her crew had worked hard, and now they were ready to head back to their own mission. Dr. Emily Carter and Dr. Mark Evans were wrapping up their work in the control room, discussing the success of their collaboration with the Aelori. We really did a great job, Dr. Carter said, her voice filled with relief. I think they're finally in good shape. Dr. Evans nodded in agreement. Yes, their systems are stable now. They should be able to continue their mission without any more problems. Captain Blake was about to give the order to depart when an urgent alarm blared through the ship. The bright red lights flashed, and a voice over the intercom announced, "Warning, incoming threat detected." The crew sprang into action. Captain Blake's calm demeanor turned serious as she rushed to the bridge. "What's happening?" she asked urgently. Dr. Evans quickly checked the sensors. "We're picking up multiple fast-moving objects approaching from the edge of the system. They're not identified yet." Dr. Carter joined him, analyzing the data. "They're coming in fast. We don't have much time to figure out what they are." Captain Blake turned to Thalor, who was still on board, overseeing the final adjustments. "Thalor, do you have any idea what might be coming our way?" Thaylor's eyes widened with concern. We do not know, but our scanners are detecting energy signatures similar to weapons. The tension on the bridge was palpable. Captain Blake knew they needed to act quickly. Prepare for defensive maneuvers. Get the shields up and alert the Aelori fleet. The crew worked efficiently, each member performing their duties with practiced precision. The explorers' shields came online with a faint hum, and the ship began to maneuver, trying to avoid any potential threats. The incoming objects were getting closer, and the crew finally got a clearer picture of what they were facing. The objects were ships, but they were unlike any they had seen before. They were heavily armed and had a menacing appearance. Dr. Carter's voice trembled slightly as she reported, "These ships are armed with advanced weaponry. They're not friendly." Captain Blake took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "We need to find out who they are and what they want. Open a communication channel and try to establish contact." Dr. Evans quickly sent out a distress signal, hoping to get a response from the approaching ships. The seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. The crew was on edge, their eyes glued to the monitors as they waited for a reply. The incoming ships continued their approach, their weapons primed and ready. Captain Blake's mind raced as she considered their options. They had to protect the Explorer and the Aelori fleet, but they didn't know if the ships were attacking or if they had another purpose. Suddenly, the communication channel crackled to life. A harsh, distorted voice came through, speaking in a language that was barely understandable. "This is the Draxian Empire. You are in our territory. Leave immediately or face destruction." The crew exchanged worried glances. The Draxians were known for their aggressive tactics and expansionist policies. It was clear they were not interested in diplomacy. Captain Blake spoke firmly into the communicator. "We are a peaceful ship on a humanitarian mission. We have no intention of entering your territory. We request safe passage for us and our allies." The Draxian voice was cold and unyielding. "You have one chance to leave. Failure to comply will result in immediate action." Captain Blake knew they had to make a quick decision. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Get the Aelori fleet to move out of our way and position the Explorer to protect them. The crew worked swiftly, guiding the Explorer and the Aelori ships into a defensive formation. The Aelori were quick to react, their ships moving in unison with the Explorer to create a protective shield. The Draxian ships moved closer, their weapons glowing ominously. The tension was high, and every crew member was focused on their tasks. Captain Blake hoped that their defensive strategies and the Aelori's cooperation would be enough to avoid a direct confrontation. As the Draxian ships closed in, Captain Blake made a bold decision. "Prepare to fire a warning shot. We need to show them we're serious about defending ourselves." Dr. Evans worked quickly to adjust the targeting systems. The Explorer's weapons systems locked onto one of the Draxian ships, and with a flash, a warning shot was fired, missing the ship by a safe distance but making a clear point. The Draxian ships stopped their advance momentarily, and the harsh voice came through the communicator again. "You dare to challenge the Draxian Empire? Prepare for combat!" Captain Blake's heart raced, but she held her ground. "We don't want conflict. We're willing to negotiate, but if you attack, we will defend ourselves and the Aelori." The Draxian ships seemed to hesitate, and for a moment, the standoff continued. The crew held their breath, waiting for the next move. Suddenly, one of the Draxian ships veered off course, and the rest of the fleet followed suit, retreating back into the depths of space. The immediate danger had passed, but the crew knew that the threat was not entirely over. Captain Blake let out a sigh of relief. "Status report. Are we in the clear?" Dr. Evans checked the sensors. "The Draxian ships are retreating. For now, we seem to be safe." Thaylor approached Captain Blake, their expression a mix of concern and gratitude. "Thank you for protecting us. We are in your debt." Captain Blake shook her head. "We're all in this together. Let's stay alert and make sure we're prepared for anything that might come next." As the Explorer and the Aelori fleet resumed their positions, the crew remained vigilant. The sudden danger had been a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of space, but their quick thinking and teamwork had ensured their survival. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but Captain Blake was confident that with the strength of their alliance and their determination to face whatever challenges came their way, They would be ready for whatever lay ahead. The last fix. The Explorer floated quietly in space, its systems running smoothly after the recent encounter with the Draxian Empire. The Aelori fleet had moved out of immediate danger and was now in a stable orbit, preparing for the final phase of their repairs. Captain Sarah Blake and her crew had a brief moment of respite, but the work was not yet complete. Captain Blake was on the bridge, reviewing the latest status reports. The ship's systems were functioning well, but she knew there was one final fix needed to ensure everything was perfect before they could fully disengage from the Aelori. Dr. Emily Carter and Dr. Mark Evans were in the engineering bay, where they had set up the last of the repair equipment. The Aelori engineers had provided the final parts and tools needed for the last stage of the repairs. Dr. Carter looked over the final checklist. "We're almost there. Just a few more adjustments and we should be ready." Dr. Evans was busy connecting the final components. These last fixes are crucial. They need to be perfect to ensure the Aelori's systems are fully operational. Meanwhile, Thalor, the Aelori leader, was observing closely. Though the Aelori had made great progress, they still needed the final fixes from the humans to complete their repairs. Thalor's large eyes watched with a mix of hope and anxiety. Captain Blake approached Thalor. "How are things going on your end?" Thalor nodded. "We are almost ready, but we are concerned about the final adjustments. Our systems are complex." Captain Blake offered a reassuring smile. "We're working on it. We understand how important this is. We'll make sure everything is up to standard before we finish." As the team worked, Dr. Carter and Dr. Evans faced a new challenge. One of the critical components they had installed was not functioning as expected. It was causing an error in the system that could affect the Aelori's ability to operate their ship efficiently. Dr. Carter frowned. "This isn't good. The component isn't syncing properly with the Aelori technology." Dr. Evans checked the diagnostics. "It looks like there might be a compatibility issue. We'll need to recalibrate the system to make sure it works." Captain Blake, hearing the concern, joined them in the engineering bay. "What's the situation?" Dr. Carter explained. "One of the components isn't working as it should. We need to recalibrate it to ensure everything is compatible." Captain Blake nodded. "Do whatever it takes. We need to make sure the Aelori's systems are fully operational before we finish up." With renewed focus, Dr. Carter and Dr. Evans began the recalibration process. The room was filled with the soft beeping of equipment and the hum of machinery as they worked to fix the issue. Thalor approached cautiously. "Can we help?" Dr. Blake looked at Thalor. "Your knowledge of your own systems might be useful. If you can provide any insights or help us understand the technology better, it would be greatly appreciated." Thalor nodded and joined the engineers. The Aelori leader had a deep understanding of their technology and was able to offer valuable advice. Together, the team worked to integrate the final component with the Aelori systems. Hours passed as the team worked meticulously. The atmosphere was tense but focused. Each adjustment brought them closer to solving the problem. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Dr. Evans smiled. "I think we've got it. The recalibration seems to be working." Dr. Carter checked the final readings. "Yes, everything looks stable now. We're ready to run a full systems check." Captain Blake watched as the team conducted the final tests. The Aelori's systems were running smoothly, and the energy readings were within the expected range. It was clear that the repairs had been successful. Thalor approached Captain Blake with a relieved expression. "Thank you for your help. Our systems are functioning perfectly now." Captain Blake smiled warmly. "I'm glad to hear that. It was a team effort, and we couldn't have done it without your cooperation." As the final checks were completed, the Aelori fleet prepared to depart. The Explorer's crew had done their part, and the Aelori were ready to continue their journey. The mood aboard the Explorer was one of accomplishment and relief. Captain Blake gathered her crew in the briefing room. "Great job, everyone. We faced a lot of challenges, but we worked together and got the job done. The Aelori are ready to continue their mission, and we've made a significant contribution." Dr. Carter and Dr. Evans nodded in agreement. It was a tough job, but it's good to see it all come together. Thalor joined the crew for a final farewell. "We will not forget your help. You have shown great skill and kindness. Captain Blake extended her hand. Safe travels, Thaler. If you ever need assistance again, don't hesitate to reach out. The Aelori leader shook her hand. We will remember. Thank you. Once again. As the Aelori fleet began to move away, Captain Blake and her crew watched with satisfaction. The mission had been a success, and they had overcome the final challenge with determination and teamwork. The explorer set course for its next destination, ready for whatever lay ahead. The crew was proud of their achievements and the bonds they had formed with their allies. They knew that their journey was far from over, but they were ready to face the future together. A new friendship. With the final repairs complete and the Aelori fleet back on track, the explorer's crew enjoyed a well-earned moment of relaxation. Captain Sarah Blake and her team were proud of the work they had accomplished, and the atmosphere aboard the ship was one of camaraderie and relief. In the days following the repair, Captain Blake organized a gathering with Thalor and the Aelori crew. It was an opportunity for the two groups to celebrate their successful collaboration and build stronger ties. Captain Blake welcomed Thalor to the mess hall, which was now set up with various dishes from both human and Aelori cuisine. The room was filled with the buzz of conversation and the clinking of glasses as everyone mingled. "Welcome, Thalor," Captain Blake said with a warm smile. "I hope you and your crew enjoy the food and the company. It's our way of thanking you for your cooperation." Thalor looked around with a mix of curiosity and appreciation. "Thank you. Captain Blake, this is very kind. We are grateful for your help." Dr. Emily Carter and Dr. Mark Evans joined the group, eager to share stories and learn more about their Aelori counterparts. Dr. Carter approached Thalor with a plate of food. "Here, try some of our dishes. It's a small way to say thank you for all your help." Thalor hesitated for a moment, but then took a bite. "This is interesting. It has different flavors than what we are used to." Dr. Carter laughed. "I'm glad you think so. We have a lot of different foods from various cultures on Earth. It's one of the things we enjoy sharing with others." As the evening went on, the conversation flowed easily between the two groups. They discussed their respective cultures, shared stories of past adventures, and learned about each other's ways of life. Captain Blake and Thalor found a quiet corner to talk. "It's been an honor working with you," Captain Blake said sincerely. "What you and your people have accomplished is truly impressive." Thalor nodded, their expression thoughtful. "Your technology and skill have been impressive as well. We have learned much from you." Captain Blake smiled. "And we've learned from you. This experience has shown us that even though we come from different worlds, we can achieve great things together." Thalor's eyes brightened. "Yes, we have forged a new understanding. It is rare to find allies so willing to help." The two leaders shook hands, a symbol of their newfound friendship. It was clear that their cooperation had built a strong bond between their people. As the night continued, the Aelori and the humans exchanged gifts. Thalor presented Captain Blake with a beautifully crafted Aelori artifact, a symbol of their gratitude and respect. In return, Captain Blake gave Thalor a human-made trinket, a small but meaningful token of their friendship. Dr. Carter and Dr. Evans also had their share of fun. They played games and engaged in friendly competitions with the Aelori crew. Laughter and enjoyment filled the mess hall, creating an atmosphere of unity and shared happiness. The Aelori crew was intrigued by human games and activities. They watched with interest as Dr. Evans taught them how to play a popular human game, and soon they were joining in, laughing and competing with their new friends. As the evening drew to a close, Thalor gathered their crew for a farewell speech. "We are grateful for the time we have spent together. This friendship is valuable to us. We hope to continue our cooperation in the future." Captain Blake addressed the group with equal warmth. "We feel the same way. This experience has been incredibly rewarding, and we look forward to future collaborations. Safe travels, and may our paths cross again." With heartfelt goodbyes and promises of future cooperation, the Aolori fleet prepared to leave. The explorers' crew watched as the Aolori ships powered up and began their departure, their lights shining brightly in the vastness of space. As the Aolori fleet disappeared into the distance, Captain Blake and her crew reflected on the successful mission and the new friendships they had made. The experience had strengthened their resolve and expanded their understanding of the universe. Captain Blake gathered her team for a final meeting. "We've accomplished a lot on this mission. Not only did we help repair the Aolori fleet, but we also built lasting friendships that will benefit us in the future." Dr. Carter nodded. "It's been an amazing experience. I'm glad we had the chance to work with the Aolori and learn from them," Dr. Evans added. "And I'm looking forward to seeing where this new friendship takes us. The possibilities are exciting," Captain Blake agreed.
Indeed.
"Our journey continues, and with the allies we've gained, we're better prepared for whatever comes next." With their spirits lifted and their bonds strengthened, the explorers' crew set their course for their next destination. They were ready to face new challenges and explore new frontiers, knowing that their actions had made a difference and that they had friends they could rely on in the vast expanse of space.